How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the inaugural Wide League Scarlet and Violet VGC 2023 Series 1 tournament. My name is Eric, and I'm joined here with K Sealboy, and we're going to be bringing you the action for the first few rounds of this tournament. I'm really excited because, I've been really diving really deep into this format, and I'm really excited to see some more high-level VGC Pokemon play in Scarlet and Violet. K Sealboy, how you doing? How you feeling about this tournament?
I'm doing great. I'm very glad to be here, and I'm just super stoked to see people getting onto the train of the Scarlet and Violet format really close to its release. Of course, we've had it for about a month nearly now, so people have had that time to develop, but it's always really fun to see these early meta sort of formats kind of proc up. We've seen a few Pokemon standing out a lot, which is going to be kind of cool to see if we have Pokemon countering those Pokemon in this tournament, or if it's going to be those Pokemon themselves, more likely leaning to the latter, but could always see an underdog story, always love to see a bit of those. And it's just been nice to see where this tournament places itself in the curve of the metagame going into what would be San Diego and Liverpool in just about another month's time as well.
Yeah, so a lot of interesting stuff to see. A lot of new players, a lot of new Pokemon, a lot of new strategies, and it looks like we're going to be getting into our first round. This is going to be eSchool Official going up against Mario, two players that I personally am not familiar with, but I'm excited to see what they've got. We got some really cool teams coming up on the screen here. Yeah, we're just about ready to get into round one. So on eSchool Officials side, we have ourselves a Florges, an Armarouge, King Gambit, Dragapult, Torkoal, and Arboliva. Meanwhile, Mario is going to be pulling up with the Dondozo, Tatsugiri, Armarouge, Sylveon, Hydreigon, and Meowscarada.
Yeah, so those teams both built up of Pokemon that are, well, I'd say most of them are fairly common. On Adonis' side, it is that Tatsugiri Dondozo team that is often seen. It's like, oh, I can just get a +2, +2, +2, +2 everywhere. And that's just amazing because it's just something we hadn't really seen since the 2017 format when we had Eevee doing that with its Z move. So that having to take up an item or even a turn to move for that ability is really amazing. Rest of them, just common good stuff, really. Got Armarouge, Flash Fire, can set up Trick Room, Sylveon, super good against those Hydreigons should they not Terra. Hydreigon itself, just super powerful. And then Meowscarada, Protean, basically a Greninja became a cat and is just throwing its damage out there. But with that nerf to Protean, it does have a little bit of a problem because sometimes it can be locked into a type it doesn't want to be in. We have to see if our players can really pick what type they want and when they want to go for it, go for a good call.
Yeah, so on Mario 8 side, we're going to see the Dragapult and Armarouge lead off here. We're going to see the Arboliva and the Dragapult lead off for eSchool Official side.
Yeah, so both these players go for that Dragon type plus support Pokemon lead. Armarouge likes to turn into something like a Grass type just to make sure it can be immune to every attack. Essentially, it loses its water weakness, but it also keeps that Flash Fire ability, meaning it has no fire weakness there. So if you catch your opponent off guard and then throw in a fire type attack, that's going to be really nice for them because their fire type attacks, even not fully stab because of that change of grass type, you're getting the literal stab boost from the Flash Fire. Where most people are like, okay, I can go for maybe a psychic type and get a psychic boost, or go for fire type and get a double fire boost. So you're just taking it at slow and steady pace, but still getting that damage and that defensive nature off. You do see a terrestrialization happening on turn one.
Yeah, it looks like the terrestrialization is coming out from Mario's side, going to be the Armarouge, terrestrializing into the Dark type. Like you said, Armarouge typically likes to terrestrialize into that Grass type to avoid any sort of Amoonguss shenanigans, but going to be terrestrializing into the Dark type here. A pretty good type matchup considering it's going against a Dragapult, as Dragapult disappears here, as Dragapult's going to juke the Draco Meteor there, going into the Phantom Force, and Armor Cannon coming out from the Armarouge is going to deal massive damage to Arboliva, but it manages to hang on with just 35 HP as Armarouge's defense and special defense fall. Arboliva does have access to that Harvest ability, so if the sun becomes a factor later on in this game, it will be able to get that berry right back. But Arboliva going to be taking a little bit of a passive turn, going to get some more health back, setting up a Leaf Seed onto that Hydreigon. So a very interesting turn one here.
Yeah, it's a very interesting turn one. It was very slow in what happened. The Draco Meteor was really forced to not hit anything because of the effect of Dragapult's Phantom Force. And Armarouge, turning to that Dark type, may be scared of taking a straight on, maybe like Shadow Ball, scouting if it was special or physical, but still, either way, if you get hit with that move, it's going to be taking less damage. Terrestrializing happening again, so both players have got that Terrestrialization active, are going to be putting that pressure on straight away. I do believe it was a Water type We saw this Arbeliever, so a similar sort of concept with Armourouge, where you just turn to a type that doesn't take that much damage to poke the moves you're weak from, losing that fire and ice type weakness. Phantom Force going in there doing absolutely nothing and just giving a bit of time to leave their damage in the field. Focus Sash revealed here on the Dragapult from that Draco Meteor, so the special attack drop will occur, but the damage is there, and all these Pokemon are kind of on a timer on the player's side of the field here.
Yeah, Dragapult surprisingly being able to hold on with that Focus Sash, taking that meaty Draco Meteor from Hydreigon. Going to be getting another Armor Cannon into the Arboliva, now terrestrialized into a Water type. Going to be further dropping its stats, but Arboliva going to be throwing off a Pollen Puff. It's super effective now, totally because of Armarouge's terrestrialization into the Dark type, and with all that drop defense, Armarouge not going to stand any sort of chance here. So some very, very interesting plays coming out here. We're seeing a little bit of what this new Pokemon Arboliva can do. Some terrestrializing into some new types. No Trick Room being set up, just some attacks being thrown, and surprisingly, a lot more Pokemon remaining on the field considering all these powerful attacks we've been seeing so far.
Yeah, its attacks have been very powerful. That Pollen Puff caught me off guard. I was thinking, oh, it's a good move, maybe go for that self-heal, expecting the damage into the Dragapult, but just getting it thrown down straight away and taking advantage of that terrestrialization, something I think players will look forward to a lot in the further runs of these formats, because you can either abuse your own terrestrializing type and we get a powerful Terra Blast off, or having a sneaky move somewhere that can be like, oh, you've Terra typed into a type that normally isn't weak to my stab. Here is now super effective. As the Pollen Puff could also be 4 times effective into this Meowscarada, should it not be setting up its protein straight away, but given its speed compared to these Pokemon, it's likely going to be getting turned into a Dark or Grass type, maybe going for a Sucker Punch to knock out Dragapult. But then that does just leave it open to those Grass type moves that could be coming out as well. Hydreigon is switching out, so it's done its job, it's got its damage down, got a special attack drop, and in comes Dondozo, and the shenanigans are just here around the corner for this player.
Yeah, Dondozo coming in here indicating that the final Pokemon in the back might just be, wait a minute, no, Tatsugiri is not in this game because all 4 Pokemon at this point have been revealed. So Dondozo being the final Pokemon as a U-turn coming out from Dragapult. Going to take Meowscarada now down to its Focus Sash, of course being 4 times super effective. Arboliva, I believe, protected there, so not going to be in danger of taking any sort of flower tricks from the Meowscarada, which is always a critical hit. So Arboliva potentially in a position to where it could be knocked out. But now we're going to see Florges come in as eSchool's final Pokemon.
Yeah, eSchool bringing in that Florges, which I am actually intrigued to see what its interaction is now the Arboliva has terrestrialized, because I do believe its ability affects grass type Pokemon, but will that be included within the base grass type, or will that be included within the current typing? So we'll find that out later down the line, and we'll see what happens with that, see maybe with the damage. But Florges itself is super effective against that Hydreigon. It's taking very little damage, and it can't terrestrialize, maybe go for a Terra Poison or a Stab Flash Cannon. Meowscarada, weak to it. If not, it's on its Focus Sash. And Dondozo, without its boost from Tatsugiri, is not really the best Pokemon to face in town. Its special defense isn't that good. Some people will put a lot of bulk into it to make it bulky, but will that be enough? Kingambit coming on in will take some of these moves from all these Pokemon very nicely. Flower Trick coming on through, going into that Florges actually gets the critical hit knockout, adds loads of damage, and that just kind of does put eSchool off a little bit and forces in some of these Pokemon that might not take this damage. Wave Crash going to come on through, does about 50% to Kingambit, Rekill to Dondozo, revealing one of those new, really strong, powerful moves that we got this generation.
Wave Crash, yeah, I mean, we all know that Florges is quite known for its special defense, but I mean, I thought without a choice band or some kind of boosting item that Meowscarada was maybe going to come short of picking up a KO there, but it instantaneously Florges just wiped off the field, and Dondozo, like you said, not taking advantage of its boost this game, but still being able to do massive damage with that Wave Crash. So Dondozo turning out to be quite a threat, as it feels like the momentum of this match has completely shifted in just a matter of a few turns. So we're going to see if eSchool coming off the back foot here, but unfortunately has to send in Arboliva against the Meowscarada. But what is actually going to be withdrawn here, as we're going to be seeing Hydreigon come back into the picture here. Perhaps wanting to save Meowscarada for some late game sweeping potential, as it was very vulnerable to that Sucker Punch from Kingambit, calling it nicely there, very good. Wave Crash going into the Kingambit, not quite able to pick up the KO here, but Dondozo still sitting pretty healthily, as Arboliva risking the potential hit into it, actually would have been caught by the Sucker Punch. So safely feeling like I can get up another Leech Seed here. And Arboliva staying on the field here. And we're back to this position. And now this King Gambit is not quite doing as much as eSchool probably would have anticipated for it.
Yeah, eSchool not really anticipating this state of the field, maybe thinking Flawless was going to stay around for a little bit longer, but didn't have the opportunity to keep it around and do itself some justice. Maybe in game 2, it will bring itself back and maybe we'll see it play a bit more of a better role, a bit more better positioning, but that's in the past now as we have got, as you said, the King Banger and Arboliva on the field. Arboliva showing how bulky it can be. It's not the fastest Pokemon, it's not like, I believe it's not got that good of bulk when, you know, just sat there on paper, but once it gets all these Leech Seeds set up, it gets all these different moves going, it has Giga Drain for be healing itself even more. It's going to be doing loads of damage over time. Tailwind coming out to guarantee that Dondozo is faster than everything, which can be very fun as Earthquake comes through, a great little combination with that Levitate from the Hydreigon, and Arboliva being a water type now, going to take a bit more damage from that. So it looks like it is going to be curtains for eSchool should they not play, not get that health back when they need it.
Yeah, that's actually a big reveal for eSchool there, knowing that the Hydreigon is carrying Tailwind. I know a very popular item on Hydreigon in this early Series 1 metagame has been the Assault Vest, so getting the reveal of the support move on the Hydreigon is a big piece of information there, but obviously not going to be a good reveal going into this end game because that Tailwind does mean that Dragapult, previously the fastest Pokemon in this entire match, now being reduced to being slower in this situation now. Dondozo, of course, being able to spam those Earthquakes next to Hydreigon because of its Levitate ability. And yeah, it looks like Maria is looking in a good spot to clean up this game.
Yeah, Maria is looking amazing to up this game. The 2v1 that you never really want to be facing down, especially in these earlier parts of the format where it is very hyper offensive. Either your Pokemon is super fragile or your opponent's Pokemon is super strong. Arboliva just lives that Draco Meteor. The HP going down on the Hydreigon because of the Life Orb is going to stay around a bit longer. I do believe the Harvest did just reactivate, so Citrus Spray is coming back, but will be enough for the rest of this game. Dragon Darts cleans up the Hydreigon. That is gone, but how much will it do to this Dondozo? Will it be enough to make it a little bit shaky with those Leech Seeds? Not very much, showing how bulky this Pokemon is. Earthquake coming on through. Could that be the end? It's not, and Cursed Body revealed.
Cursed Body.
Of course, Cursed Body, not that clear body. That could be maybe a mistake on the player's behalf or is a tactic. So no more Earthquakes for Dondozo, having to go for those Wave Crashes, which are going to be neutral damage because of the water typing.
Yeah, very big reveal also of the Dragapult's ability. Cursed Body is one that we almost never see. It's usually like that Clear Body that you said because of how invaluable having its stats drop, or at least not having its stats drop, can be. I do like that Draco Meteor into the Arboliva, but the problem about removing this Arboliva is that it's going to keep getting its Citrus Berry back, not even needing the sun at this point, just going to keep getting that health back. But I do like the idea of keeping it low to the point where you don't have to risk any sort of shenanigans for Meowscarada. But now that Meowscarada comes back in, basically one more Flower Trick will do the job. Dondozo proving honestly like it can still be quite a tank, not having all of its Tatsugiri boost, but just going to get one more Protect here, probably just trying to go for an extra Harvest chance, a little bit of Leech Seed recovery, maybe, hoping his opponent misclicks and maybe Earthquakes the own Meowscarada. It can happen. It's certainly a win condition, but unfortunately not any of that, not needing to go for that, just going to try to go for an Order Up and a Flower Trick, probably going to be able to close out this game. But if you're looking to the next game for eSchool, like what kind of adjustments do you think seeing these Pokemon are in order here?
I think maybe eSchool can look to when the terrestrialization comes out, maybe going straight for that. Okay, I'm facing a fire type Pokemon, I can go for that terrestrialization, take the hit, and then be scot-free for the rest of the game. Of course, that wasn't really the case going forward because yes, the Armor Rouge was dealt with, but then you just have this really powerful Meowscarada in the back, which is Flower Trick with its critical hit, does grab the knockout here. So that's be something that will be considered. Of course, being guaranteed crit chance doesn't mean you can be, I can be lucky and dodge it, I can be lucky and do this. It's going to hit. And Dondozo being so bulky, maybe trying to focus around forcing that to Earthquake into things, or getting in a position where it's not doing much damage or hasn't got much bulk alongside it, that you're just really taking it out as quick and as soon as possible.
Yeah, I did notice a lot from eSchool side that the play, at least the game plan, it seemed was quite passive, and I think Maria was very much able to capitalize on just more and more aggression. I mean, having your Terra Pokemon go down early is usually never a good sign, but you know, having Dondozo in the back, just you know, not even needing the boost, just being able to sit there and tank hits all day. Meanwhile, you have your heavy hitters like Hydreigon and your other Pokemon just being able to constantly output damage. Meanwhile, Arboliva is just kind of a sitting duck there on the field, just, you know, getting those Leech Seeds off, which could be good for an endgame win con, but perhaps a little premature, as there was a point where Arboliva was just able to get completely offense down.
Yeah, Arboliva just kind of lost its momentum. The Leech Seeds were very nice. It had the opportunity to get that health back. And with Harvest proccing a couple times without the sun being active was a really good role for it to keep going and going, but it just wasn't enough towards that end game. And when you're in that position, when your opponent has more Pokemon to switch around with than you do, Arboliva and most Leechy Pokemon in general, if they haven't got the bulk to them, just be like, okay, Leech Seed's up, Pokemon switches out, and they have to reset themselves over and over again. That's more turns that your opponent's putting those mind game downs of you can press the Leech Seed and get your health back over time, or you can attack and then not get that health back over time, but you can still get a Pokemon knocked out. And taking advantage of those sorts of situations for both players is something that they have to keep in mind for this game too, and in general for their entire time playing Pokemon with these bulkier teams.
Yeah, definitely a lot of very crucial information revealed in that game as well. We have stuff like, you know, Hydreigon's moveset. We have the ability on Dragapult. Yeah, just a lot of the extent. I think we basically also have seen the extent of what Arboliva can do. So potentially keeping that water Terra type in mind. And, you know, that's the thing about Dondozo too, is that, like, you know, you can adjust your game plan a lot with Dondozo teams. It's not exactly as straightforward of a team archetype as that you can, you know, bring Dondozo or Tatsugiri separately of them, like without each other, and still have them be threats on their own, as we've seen Dondozo, just a tank that's able to output a lot of physical damage, still eat up a lot of hits, not even having the boost. Meanwhile, Tatsugiri can be either an offensive Pokemon or a little bit of a support Pokemon with moves like Icy Wind, Soak. So, I mean, if, you know, I think eSchool has to be careful here, because the Dondozo game plan honestly kind of looks pretty good. I think, especially since Mario has seen what Dondozo could do sans Tatsugiri, I think the Dondozo game plan has got to be something that is very much in the front of eSchool's mind going into this game too.
Yeah, going into the game two, you know, thinking they didn't bring a Tatsugiri game one, and what could they do game two? It's going to be something that they'll have to really consider. It could be something like the mind game of they could bring it in game two, but if they change it in that game two, will it be the same? Will it not be the same? Do you see Dondozo Masquerade coming out straight away? And to me, at least, this looks like it could be U-turn into either of these Pokemon. They're not going to like taking a U-turn once it gets that Ghost bug type in. And then Tatsugiri comes straight in. Dondozo's got those boosts. Will Mario go for that? It's hard to tell because of the state of the field. Dondozo could want to switch to maybe avoid taking hits. We'll have to see what our players go for across Dragapult. Has revealed that U-turn, which is going to be very known for that Masquerada if it doesn't get the opportunity to change its type with either Terastallization or the effect of Protean, given that it's that one-time change, and you have to really preserve it in these rounds of the matches.
Yeah, you have a lot of stuff that could go on here. Obviously, U-turn being a big threat for Meowscarada, but going to be seeing the hard switch. This is another thing that I was going to mention, a hard switch from Meowscarada into the Tatsugiri. So we're going to be seeing Tatsugiri make its appearance, and the Commander ability going to go straight into Dondozo's mouth there, giving it all kinds of very nice boosts, +2 to every single one of its stats. And now Dondozo going to be an insanely massive threat to both these Pokemon. We've already seen Dragapult not doing a whole lot to Dondozo, even without the boost, but Arboliva just going to go for the Protect on this turn one, as Dragapult going to go for the Dragon Darts. So Dragapult going to remain faster than Dondozo. Dondozo not the fastest Pokemon, so even a speed demon like Hydreigon still able to get the jump on him. But, you know, Dondozo is still going to eat up those Dragon Darts very well, get up a substitute, get some leftovers recovery, and here we go. We're officially in Dondozo territory.
Yeah, we have entered the gates of the heavens known as the Dondozo land, and that is going to be something that eSchool is going to have to think what to do. There is the benefit of Dragon Darts that you're not really using what you're targeting, because of course Dragon Darts has smart targeting effects, it'll double into that Dondozo slot. So yes, it's not doing a much, and yes, it's going for the substitute. That 2 hits could be enough to hit that 25% to then knock out a substitute, even if it is over a couple turns. And our believer, it's not really getting touched by many of Dondozo's moves. Yes, it can hit it with an order up, get those boosts, but that will come down to if they feel like they want to go there. Of course, order up is directed into the Dragapult, which has got that sash. 2 hits from the Dragon Darts, is it enough to fade that substitute? It is not, and the Earthquake comes on out, doing less damage to the Believer because it is still grass type, but it's going to break the sash of the Dragapult and just make it so that an order up is going to get you an attack boost and get you a knockout. Pollen Puff coming through, just throwing everything at the wall that is the Dondozo. Something sticks, something gets rid of the substitute, which is that. It is going to give it a bit less time to be bulky, but that leftovers and with the stat boost, it's going to be sitting there.
Yeah, you've seen that even though these Pokemon individually are not doing a lot of damage to Dondozo, it take a lot of damage upon, having that turn where Tatsugiri came in. And even though these, Dragapult's in range of a KO now, Arboliva potentially in range of a KO of Order Up, Dondozo's still able to exert a lot of pressure, but it does have to keep in mind that there's still these Pokemon that do have the ability to stick on the field depending on what move you go for. So I think if you're a Mario here, you have to keep in mind of a more optimal way to set up Dondozo just to clean the rest of the game and not let these annoying Pokemon stick on the field for too long. Of course, Dragapult being faster than Dondozo, going to be able to get another quick hit off. Those Dragon Darts, like you said, with the smart targeting, going to be doing a lot, big amounts of chip damage. But nope, Dragapult not going to stick around. Instead, going to go for the U-turn, get a little bit more chip damage onto the Dondozo. And going to be swapping back in the Florges here. So very interesting switch if the Dondozo decided it wanted to go for an order up this turn. But instead, no, going for another substitute. I like this play because it potentially, Arboliva can dodge a Leech Seed, which Arboliva does go for. So Mario calling this turn correctly, calling a swap out from Dragapult and a Leech Seed, which gets eaten up by the substitute, getting some extra leftovers recovery. And what a turn for Dondozo there.
It's an amazing turn for Dondozo. It has all of those moments where it just goes, okay, no damage, no worries, and allows itself to get behind that substitute. There is a benefit, though, on this turn that because there isn't a Terastallization, Arboliva has got the buff from the Florges, but will that buff be any form of benefit whatsoever in this side of the battle? Protect coming out from the Arboliva. Going to protect it. Of course, we do know how Order Up works. It will still get that boost. We just see Wave Crash coming out now. Possibly going into it. It is definitely going to have Florges. Florges drops again. It's really not having its fun on the field. And I believe it's lost its buff from Florges. There's a Pokemon down on eSchool's side of the field. And Dondozo is just steamrolling here and could possibly just keep on going with that recovery from the leftovers, even if it is dropping its own HP with its attack.
Yeah, poor Florges, just coming into these battles just to get one shot every single game. I sort of see the vision with the whole the Flower Gift or no, Flower Gift is Cheren's ability. The Florges ability that is supposed to buff up Arboliva, give it some more stats, but you also at the same time have to keep in mind that Florges is still kind of a sitting duck on the field, and the fact that Mario's Dondozo has the Wave Crash, it means it has a very powerful move that can hit through Florges' already meager defenses. So, this combination not going to be sticking around for very often. And, it's sort of a risky game here you're playing with Dondozo because you're wave crashing, you're substituting, you're getting rid of a lot of your HP. But, being in front of this substitute, honestly making it not matter too much. But this King Gambit going to come in here with the Supreme Overlord ability. Going to be getting a little bit of an extra power bump from the fainted Florges there. Going to be Terastallizing into the Dark type. So King Gambit, a already notoriously strong attacker, got some really powerful Dark type moves up its sleeve with Kowtow Cleave and also Sucker Punch. But another Wave Crash as Dondozo is now finally going to be the first Pokemon to move on the field. Gets a huge Wave Crash into King Gambit, able to hang on. It still hangs on from the recoil damage. Now the Kowtow Cleave going into the substitute. Going to be most likely breaking that substitute at this point, which might set up a KO here for Arboliva with the Pollen Puff. Now that Dondozo has taken so much HP, Pollen Puff going into the Dondozo is actually able to pick up the KO. So finally, the threat of Dondozo is erased from the field, and eSchool having just 3 Pokemon left, I'd say, not a bad trade considering how much this Dondozo was poised to do to the team. So, eSchool managing to get out of that Dondozo situation with still 3 moderately healthy Pokemon here. So now we'll have to see how Mario proceeds for the rest of this game.
Yeah, it's an amazing knockout there, getting rid of the behemoth that was the Dondozo. It isn't the biggest hurdle to get over, it was the bulkiest hurdle to get over, if anything. And with the Pokemon at such low HP on eSchool's side of the field, it is still going to be an uphill battle. Tatsugiri has moves like Muddy Water at spread damage, is probably going to get a knockout on his Kingambit. Both these Pokemon are very slow, so it's still going to be definitely taking damage there. And Meowscarada, it's going to change its type to whatever move it uses. So if it goes for a Sucker Punch into the Arboliva, it's going to become Dark type and it's going to do damage. But you don't see a Sucker Punch coming from it though. We see it coming out from the Kingambit, showing its ability being so strong. I was going to mention that because it has that, because there's because of the lack of Arcanines recently, because of the effects of Clear Gambit and other Defiant Pokemon, Kingambit are safe to run its unique ability and get those damage boosts for each knocked out Pokemon. But sometimes there is that thing of like, oh, I can maybe catch an Icy Wind as Pollen Puff goes into the Meowscarada, 4 times effective, hits the Sash. I have to see where it goes from there, as Dragapult will be coming in, could be faster than these Pokemon likely, and it's going to be the saving grace of this matchup if it gets those damages off.
Yeah, Dragapult still remaining a very huge threat on the field, just simply being the fastest Pokemon on the field. That Tatsugiri KO, definitely a big knockout there for eSchool, as Armarouge is going to be the last Pokemon to come in here. So this basically is going to come down to whether or not Meowscarada, I believe, has Sucker Punch, because now Dragapult, does very well against both of these Pokemon, having super effective damage into both of them. Obviously could just, KO Meowscarada and hit the Armarouge with Dragon Darts and then just, finish it up with a Phantom Force, or, potentially could be, have to attack into one of these. But Arboliva, obviously now without the Terra in play, going to be very susceptible to that Armor Cannon that we saw earlier. Still has the option, to hit it for some decent damage after the defense drops there, but we'll have to see. I think it's going to really depend on the move sets of these Pokemon going into these last final turns. We're going to have to see if the Meowscarada is able to reveal Sucker Punch and maybe get rid of this Dragapult, but we're going to see the Protect coming out. Safe play to scout to see. Nice double Protect coming out here from the Arboliva as well. We're going to see the Meowscarada goes for Knockoff here, so it's continuing to click Knockoff, so maybe an indication that there is no Sucker Punch. We're going to see the Armor Cannon come out into the Arboliva, just going to hit the Grass-type Pokemon there into the Protect. So I guess we'll have to see if it comes down to this turn. I believe the reveal of Knockoff may be indicating that there is no Sucker Punch here. But I guess we're going to have to see. This game is probably going to end very, very soon, either this turn or the next. Are we going to see that Sucker Punch reveal from the Meowscarada? No, we're not going to, as the Dragon Darts going into the Meowscarada, gonna pick up the knockout and gonna pick up some very nice chip damage here on this Armarouge. But now, since the Dragon Darts was the option here, that allows Armarouge to go for an Armor Cannon into the Arboliva, getting the knockout here. So Dragapult will stay on the field, and now it just seems like Dragapult, now being the fastest Pokemon on the field, can just click Phantom Force and knock out this Armarouge.
Yeah, it can go for that Phantom Force and get a big damage off. I can't quite remember if Mario has gone for that Terastallization. If
I don't
not,
think they have.
An amazing preservation of it if they haven't, because they can just go to that Dark type and then they can stall out. Phantom Force will be doing a lot of damage. It's a very strong Pokemon in the Dragapult, and Armarouge, has some moves it can probably hit it with. It's revealed its Armor Cannon. Yes, it's slowly reducing its defensive stats, but it's still enough to maybe give it a bit of edge, especially with the Dark typing and the interaction of weaknesses and resistances. It's gonna be a close one, I think. Armarouge does have that Terastallization coming on out, and we'll just see what comes from here. Armor Cannon won't do too much because it is a fire-type move. Dragon Dart's coming on out, so reading this play like a book and smart targeting puts it down to its 1 HP. Psychic comes on out. Will it to be enough? And it is enough there. And the weakness, the fragility of Dragapult when it goes all out offensive is shown, and that very defensive, very late game prioritization is what brings it to this 1-1. So round one of this tournament, you go into 1-1 on stream, something you love to see because you get to see everything up the sleeve of our players coming into these tournaments.
Yeah, very, very good games there for Mario, taking the set 2-0 over eSchool official there. Very, very close in the end game there. Yeah, I completely forgot. That's something I still got to get used to, is that the terrestrialization option still existing in the back for Mario there, able to get that dark typing, survive even with the -1 defenses, surviving that dragon darts, that single target dragon darts, and able to pick up the KO there. Very, very good stuff from both of our players. We got some more rounds coming up soon. That was just the first round. Don't go away, guys, and we will be right back with round 2 coming up very, very soon.